Welcome to Swaminarayanspirituality.com. This is Sachin Karnik. We are starting today the entire series on Swaminarayan Brahmacharya. I have been wanting to make recordings and talks on this for quite a while. Now I finally have some time to do this by the grace of God and all the great sages, and really just a desire to explore this subject of Brahmacharya in detail. I am starting this endeavor as of now. So first of all, I want to offer my prostrations to all the great sages who have existed in the past, who are present today on this planet, all the liberated beings who are present today and yet to come in this world, and to Bhagavan Swaminarayan, Hari Krishna Maharaj, Ghansham Maharaj, Sajanand Swami Maharaj, and all the great Paramahansas and sages and saints who are present, Santo who are present on the planet today. The word Brahmacharya, in the way that Shriji Maharaj, meaning Swaminarayan Bhagavan, has talked about it, it means sex sublimation and transmutation of our sex energy. Now, there are other ways to understand this same word, which is also incorporated in the teachings of Maharaj. Okay, so the word Brahmacharya means to revolve in the Brahman, that I am the Brahman and I am living in Brahmic consciousness. That is its broader, essential meaning. Nonetheless, there is the internal meaning also on top of this meaning or within this meaning about sex energy, which is the Vasana Shakti, the energy inside Vasanas. So, in the Sanatana Dharma in general, there has been considerable discussion, exploration, and sadhana, spiritual practice, performed over thousands of years by so many individuals to change the direction of the sex energy. There's two directions of this energy. One is the downward flow, and other is the upward flow. And this is true in the male body and the female body. The downward flow is in the male body, for example, it is the orgasm with ejaculation in the sexual response cycle. The upward flow is called Urdhvareta Naishtik Brahmacharya. So Shriji Maharaj himself had mastered this. Many of his Paramahansas had mastered this. Even there are great sages today who have mastered this. It is extremely difficult. It is the upward flow of the semen energy, keeping it conserved, transmuting it into ojas, O-J-A-S, and then using that as a fuel for undisturbed contemplation on the murti, on the form of God, on the swarup of Paramatma. This is the Swaminarayan teaching, basically. So I'm going to focus on that primarily and connect other pieces as relevant. So this is a very interesting subject. It's a very, very important exploration. And before I continue further, this is for my own review and my own contemplation and for blessings from Bhagavan and from all the sages. For me, I'm not trying to convince anybody. I'm not trying to promote anything or other than the teachings of Shriji Maharaj. What are his teachings? Teachings of Gunatitanand Swami, Gopalanand Swami, Bhagavan Krishna, Bhagavan Ramchandra Ji, Sanatana Dharma in general. That is my interest here, as an exploratory process and an explanatory process. Exploratory and explanatory and contemplative, all three, in this exploration of the Brahmacharya, particularly Shri Swaminarayan Brahmacharya. So to begin with, when we consider the life of Bhagwan Swaminarayan, who is Shriji Maharaj, or in short just Maharaj, when we look at his life, we find 100% emphasis that he placed on the total conservation and transmutation of the sex energy into Brahmacharya right from childhood. He had done great penance and tapasya, mastered Ashtanga Yoga. You cannot master Ashtanga Yoga without 100% Urdhvareta Brahmacharya. The Yam itself, Yam, Niyam, Asana, the first three stages have Brahmacharya right within that. Brahmacharya is such that the power that is there, the energy that is present there, gets transmuted back into the Atma. The Atma is the spiritual self. So a true Brahmachari has gone beyond the impulses of bhoga. Bhoga meaning the sex enjoyment, orgasmic enjoyment. Has gone beyond that, can see beyond that. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is the incident and story of Shukdev Ji, who actually wrote the Bhagavatam, who actually spoke the Bhagavatam. Goswami Shukdev Ji, he was beyond male and female, the sense of male and female. Not that there's some abnormality or anything like that. He had realized the Atma, and that's why. Maleness and femaleness are part of the body aspect, body level. But there's a level beyond that. That is of the level of the Atma. And that Atma is not male or female. So the Brahmacharya is raw power. It's raw, extraordinary power that flows in the cosmos from the mind of God. Bhagavan Nishakti. It is the power of God. There's a transcendental process that is shown in Vachanamrut, where Bhagavan Purushottam Narayan, by Sankalpa, wishes to create universes, wishes to activate Mahamaya. One of the Muktas, one of the Akshara Muktas, who are liberated souls, picks that Sankalpa up, and then that becomes Mool Purush, and then looks at Mahamaya, just a glance at Mahamaya, and that activates billions of universes. That Mool Purush is many times called as Purushottam inside many scriptures, but that is not the case actually. Mool Purush is only one of the Muktas. There are infinite number of Akshara Muktas that are in the service of the Supreme Lord. That Supreme Lord is beyond Akshar, beyond Akshara Brahma, and that is called Purushottam Bhagavan, or Parabrahma. Parabrahma Narayan, the Mool Tattva, that is Bhagavan Narayan. Right? So, the origin of all energy is the mind of God in a general sense. It is coming from the mind of Bhagavan Purushottam. Now, his mind is not like our mind. It's not a he or a she also. It is Chaitanya. It is a Chaitanya Vigraha Murti, Parabrahma Aksharatit, Kishore Murti, beyond male and female. It is divine, completely Divya. But that word is too mild. It is beyond even Akshara Brahma. Akshara Brahma is the absolute consciousness. Beyond that, the absolute consciousness itself is too mild compared to the Parabrahma. And that is beyond Maya also. Anyway, those are all more higher level ideas. The point here is that Mool Purush looks at Mahamaya and remains liberated. Garada Pratham number 12, Vachanamrut, discusses this point, that the Mool Purush doesn't get entangled in Maya, is only placing energy in Maya, and then Maya is fully blossomed, and then Pradhan Purush comes. Billions of Pradhan Purush, infinite number of Pradhan Purush are coming out of Mahamaya and Mool Purush. And then from there Mahatattva, and from there Virat Narayan, and then the whole process continues, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, etc. This is all metaphysics. But interestingly, this entire sense of duality of male and female, it begins there, with the Mool Purusha activates Mahamaya. Mahamaya can be considered as feminine, but it's not really male or female also. It is a raw power. The maleness and femaleness are under Mahamaya, actually. But then from where we are in the human body, we have this sense of maleness and femaleness, and that's how the propagation of the species occurs. So, someone might ask, why follow something like Brahmacharya? What is the purpose behind it? It is energy, that's why. It's just raw energy in the brain, in the spinal cord, that can change the direction towards God, back to God, giving it back to God, using it as a fuel for contemplating, to reach akhanda vritti, unbroken contemplation, unbroken connection with God, with Bhagavan. And that is true in other traditions also. In all spiritual religious traditions, there are denominations that talk about this type of celibacy. Somewhere along the line, it is there. Some people do have the opinion that this is impossible. It is not impossible, but it is next to impossible. Let's put it that way. And also, even something that is so extraordinarily difficult, it can be very straightforward when there is extraordinary glory of the bliss of God, a bliss of bhakti. The ananda that comes from bhakti and jnana and vairagya and dharma and mananchintan, santa samagam, that joy that comes from there, when that supersedes the mere bodily enjoyments of different kinds, then brahmacharya is possible. Now the trouble here is that our senses are tuned in such a way, due to the influence of Mahamaya, they're tuned to expand pleasure and enjoyment. So the experience of an orgasm, the experience of what, the Gujarati word is Stri Sambandhi Sukh. If you translate that, that's an orgasm. Or that's the happiness, that's the enjoyment that comes from the pleasure of the sexual pleasure. So that is how that is described. Stri Sambandhi Sukh. And it is Vasna also. Vasna is the demand, the desire for it. Right? So the entire creation is running because of that desire. That is Kameshwari Devi. One of the forms of Devi is Kameshwari. So she places these desires in our minds to keep this material world running. That is what Shriji Maharaj has mentioned in Garada Pratham 34. Bhagwane Kal Chadaveli. Kal meaning it is an automatic process that has been set into motion metaphysically by God, by Bhagwan, so that the species continue. One species creates the children, and then the lineage continues. And it just goes on. And that is the cycle of birth and death, rebirth, and the different... It is a natural cycle that has been placed for the propagation of the species. And there is so much enticement in that to keep it going. It's only the devotees of Bhagavan who are wanting liberation from Mahamaya, who take their energies and place them towards Paramatma. So Swaminarayan Brahmacharya can be thought of in many ways. The way Brahmacharya manifested itself or was practiced by Maharaj himself, this is one aspect. Maharaj, Gopalanand Swami, Gunatitanand Swami, Paramahansas, and then in Guru Parampara today. That is one way to understand this Brahmacharya by Charitra. And then so many others like Vivekanand Swami was a pure Brahmachari. He reached that stage. Ramakrishna Paramahansa was a great Brahmachari. Shankaracharya Ji was a great Brahmachari. Swami Ram Tirth was a great Brahmachari. In the Woods of God realization, he uses expressions like white blood. The semen is white colored, right? So he uses that expression that this is white blood. It drains a lot of energy and a lot of power and things like that, right? So again, there's many perspectives on this. And this is going to take some time to go through. We might create over 100 plus hours of recordings on this. This is just the very first one, and it's going to cover many references from Gita, Vachanamrut, Shankaracharya ji, so many places. And then the other perspectives on Brahmacharya also. And even the perspectives against Brahmacharya, I'm going to put them in here also. I'm going to put it all in here, and we'll see how it all fits together. Okay, now having said this, there's also the other aspect of Swaminarayan Brahmacharya, that is the way Maharaj has taught about this Brahmacharya for householders and for the renunciate sages, renunciate sadhus. Two paths are generally propagated and taught by Shriji Maharaj. One is a path of householders, Grahast Ashram. The other is Tyag Ashram, Tyagi. Tyagi meaning what? The sadhus have to follow eightfold Brahmacharya. It's called Ashtanga Brahmacharya. And I'm going to cover that in detail. But the essence of it is they keep away from the contact with the opposite sex, heterosexual, obviously. Although there are dangers with homosexuality and masturbation, and those things are also possible. In a scripture called Dharmamrut, which is specifically written as Agnya for the saints. Agnya meaning command by Maharaj for all the saints. It's a conversation between Shriji Maharaj and Gopalanand Swami. And Gopalanand Swami asked the question, please describe, hey Maharaj, what is the dharma of the Tyagi Sadhu? Tyagi Sadhu. So that is Dharmamrut and Nishkam Shuddhi. The two scriptures are there. And we're going to cover that too. One step at a time, nice and easy. I'm just giving a small overview here today. Some other aspects to this. From a more neurological, psychological, more biological standpoint, there is all kinds of energy inside the brain. The brain has so much energy, but we are generally, as human beings, wasting that energy. I have created a whole program called Energy and Personal Excellence, and then have actually made that into a generic program through our Angel Wing program. If you want to know about that, that goes on every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Just contact me and you can log on through Zoom. There's no charge for you at all. You'll find it very interesting. It's all been recorded so far. As of today, we've done 23 weeks. It's going to go on for years, every single week on Tuesday. But the essence of that connects with these ideas here about energy. That our internal energy is vast. We have phenomenal capacity and energy. But we don't tap into it. We don't know how to tap into it. And we are very much caught in contracted, limited, bhog-oriented. Bhog meaning just stimulative enjoyment. We're caught in that. And the sexual experience is a prime example. It is so deeply ingrained in the brain and the mind. It's the animal inside of us. It's the pashu. So to awaken beyond that is one of the bigger goals of Bhagavan Swaminarayan, is to take the pashu, which is inside in the human body, and turn it into a human, and from human into a bhakta, from bhakta into a mukta. Bhakta meaning devotee, mukta meaning liberated being, living liberation. And the Shiksha Patri, 212 verses, also talk about this path. So many scriptures are there. The Bhagavad Gita talks about this. The Brahma Sutras talk about this. They describe it. Great sages like Vivekananda Swami has extensively talked about Kundalini Shakti and its power. How to awaken that. And there's different tantra paths also. Right-handed, left-handed tantra. There's all kinds of paths. I'm going to cover all of this, specifically with the focus on Bhagavan Swaminarayan and the way he taught Brahmacharya and propagated it, what exactly he has taught. And to understand that, we're going to connect with all the other teachers, as many as I can, step by step. It is a most interesting endeavor. I will do the best I can with as many accurate references as possible. It is my humble prayer for anybody listening to this that if you have questions, comments, please reach out. I will be happy to enter into a conversation with you about this, and we can go further in contemplation. If you have specific points you'd like to make, send them to me. I'll incorporate them in the best way that I can. All right, now to go forward now from this point, in the life of Maharaj, he had left the home after his parents passed away, Dharmadev Bhakti Mata. They went to Akshardham. They got liberated. He liberated them, in fact. And that's a whole long story in itself. But at the age of 11, he left the home, wearing a kopin, keeping a scripture, the essence of the scriptures, keeping a shaligram with him. The 4 points, Dharma, Gnan, Vairagya, Bhakti, in the role of a great yogi, of a sadhak. And he has taken on the vow of celibacy, Urdhvareta Brahmacharya. Right from beginning, he doesn't want a drop of semen to come out of his body. He's mentioned this in Vachanamrut. In several places this is mentioned. Madhya 33, Vachanamrut. I'll go through the references carefully another time. Pratham 71, I think, is another one. Kam Jityanu Vachanamrut. But Maharaj did all kinds of yoga sadhana, and he was a yogi. He had done Ashtang Yoga, mastered Ashtang Yoga in 1 year in the Himalayas. It's nearly impossible for anybody to do that. But one of the reasons why he mastered it is because right from that age 11 and onward, when to age 12, as puberty begins, he began to transmute that energy right from the beginning. This is called Bal Brahmachari. Now, keep in mind, he didn't use, the devotees of Swaminarayan Bhagwan, some people believe that, he used divine power and he's the incarnation of God. Leave all that aside for the time being. He's a yogi. He's a great sadhak and a great sage eventually. Look at the sadhana he's doing. Let's stay focused on that. And then the spiritual identity of Maharaj, that's a whole different matter. And we'll talk about that also in relation to Brahmacharya. But in the terms of sadhana that he did, we want to understand those sadhanas. So what was clear to him right from age 11, which is nearly impossible for anybody else, is that he wants to transmute this impulse, the sex impulse, the natural flow of semen out of the body, out of the genital organ, and he wants to hold it inside and transmute it into ojas. This is absolutely unequivocally clear in his mind at the age of 11, and probably before that. It was clear all the time in his mind that this is something that he's going to do. Can you imagine how can that be? That's incredible in itself. Just that one determination, that at that young, tender age, to be so absolutely lucid about keeping the semen energy, the sex energy intact and transmuting it through sadhana, through Ashtang Yoga, through bhakti, because Maharaj had the Shaligram. So he would offer everything to the Shaligram, that is a form of Bhagavan Vishnu. He had done in Pulashram, he had done this 4 months of Gayatri Mantra, worshipping the Surya Devata, Surya Narayan. He had done all kinds of sadhanas. He had a guru also called Gopal Yogi. He learned the Ashtanga Yoga. There were some other yogis he had learned from. And then he had given, certain blessings to them, and his own divinity was manifested in that. But the point is, he went through these sadhanas. Right now we're talking about Brahmacharya. So clear. So he's clear on keeping this energy intact. And in doing so, the progression in Ashtang Yoga becomes rapid. His progression, he masters it in 1 year. This is the story. This is the history. The Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. Again, we can, in some other talks, we cover Ashtanga Yoga in more detail. But right now, the focus is on Brahmacharya, that the energy, the sex energy that is inside the brain, the mind, the spinal cord, etc., Maharaj is using that for worshipping Bhagavan Vishnu. For Bhagavan Shaligram. The Shaligram is a form of Vishnu Ji. And his Ishta Devata is Sri Krishna Bhagavan. This is a fact. These are just the facts. I'm going to present to you the facts. You make of it what you will. And because of this tremendous clarity, he does different asanas, like Gorak Asan. He does the different Basti, Jal Basti, and other Kunjar Kriya. This is written in Vachanamrut. These are all purification sadhanas to keep the gut clean. is called neti. There's a neti. There's the putting the cloth inside and then taking it out, and then there's all kinds of yogic sadhana. At nighttime, he'll be sleeping in a gorak asan. It's a specific type of asan to assist with the upward flow of the semen. Because in the male body, after some point, the force is so intense to discharge, you cannot control that force. It's uncontrollable. The semen goes out, and why that force is there? For the propagation of the species. So you're going against a naturally programmed force. It's not really going against it. You're changing its direction mindfully through devotion and through yogic sadhana. Extremely difficult, right? Now, you can see why anybody who's listening to this would know the extraordinarily difficult process of keeping the semen intact. People have tried. It might be good for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. After about 1 month, your mind goes crazy. You try to do it, and even you're away from the opposite sex and doing bhajan and kirtan and doing different forms of spiritual practices, at some point, at nighttime, or usually at nighttime, even if daytime it doesn't happen, at nighttime, the intensity is so much that one cannot prevent masturbation. It's like you just cannot stop that at all. Or even if you do not, even if a male, and it could be with females also, certainly, but if a male doesn't deliberately masturbate to relieve the pressure, it will happen at nighttime, as nighttime discharge. It's very interesting. So that's wet dreams. It can happen that way. Viryapat, it is called. In Gujarati, it is called Swapna Dosh. In fact, in satsang, this is a expression that is used by the sadhus. It is called Swapna Dosh. So they try to go outside. They try to prevent that by practicing 9 forms of devotion, Ashtang Brahmacharya. There's a whole sadhana is different. So the Grahastha path and this Tyagi path, they're different, and they are separate paths leading to the same goal. And many times there's a lot of problems in householder life when they try to practice something which is meant for the sadhus. And if the sadhus try to get trapped in these vasanas after leaving the sansara as a tyagi, they'll be trapped in their path. They'll be trapped somewhere, stuck somewhere. So these are different paths. They are not to be mixed, but the goal is the same. And I'm going to try to explain both how brahmacharya is there in grahastha ashram and in tyaga ashram in detail as much as possible. Right? So there's a lot to cover. There's a lot of interesting points. There's many, many, many angles to all this. But the key here is to realize that there is a certain qualitative first-person experience from the pleasure of sex that is called bhog, stri sambandhi bhog, and for stri it is called purush sambandhi bhog. That is the pleasure. Can that be renounced? You see, can that be renounced? Can that be left aside and only the bliss of the Lord be drinking the bliss of the Lord? In the Bible there's a expression, I think it was, I don't know who said it, but one of the disciples of Jesus said it is better to marry than to burn. I'll find the actual quotations. And there's quite a few quotations from the Bible also. So it's quite amazing. It's a burning inside. People have done extreme things to try to control this and it doesn't work. You see? It is next to impossible. It is not impossible. It is next to impossible. And there are those who say it is impossible. Right? So, it is a very, very tricky and difficult sadhana. But there's a lot to learn from this. We can gain a lot of benefit from this also. And we can also explore the importance of practicing some aspects, from teachings of Maharaj for even the Tyagis that are useful for everybody in general. The Tyagi path it's a path in its own right. And there can be a lot of problems in that. There are always problems in that. In all Swaminarayan organizations and in any religious organization, there are always issues with brahmacharya. There's always some people who create some havoc for themselves or others, and that becomes a disastrous thing actually. It is better to live in the Grahast ashram or stay by yourself, but don't become a Tyagi sadhu if you have problems with this or if you cannot follow that path. It is a very, very difficult path to follow, the Swaminarayan Tyagi sadhu path. You can get crushed in that. And if you're not successful in it, you can be destroyed completely, or you create all kinds of trouble, for yourself and for others. Very, very difficult, right? But at the same time, if there is success, there's nothing like that. So, and that's true for the householders also. So anyway, having said that, Shri Guru Bhyo Namah, Shri Sadguru Bhyo Namah, Sajanand Swami Maharaj Ni Jai, Swaminarayan Bhagavan Ki Jai. We'll continue next time along these lines further.